to the GetRealWealth.com radio show, where wealth means a lot more than just building a second stream of income. Listen and learn how 70% of the millionaires in America used real estate to create a lifestyle that most people only dream about. A lifestyle that includes good health, family, romance, travel, charity, and all the other parts of a balanced life. Now, here is your host, real estate investor and mentor, Steve Davis.
Good afternoon and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. And as always, we are here talking about using real estate to build a life that's worth living. I want to talk first. I promised you we'd talk about what passive income is going to mean to you and your family across the social media platforms. And also, I just want to go over this article that I posted as well across the social media yesterday and got a lot of response, a lot of direct emails. A lot of people went to my website and actually emailed me from there. And it was not good stuff. It was, they understood the article, but they were very upset at what's going on, and upset about what the article was upset about. So it was really a powerful thing. If you didn't read it, it was by a guy named Nick Maggiulli, I think is how you say his last name. It's Maggiulli of dollarsandData.com. Of dollarsandData.com. And what he was talking about is the biggest lie in personal finance is that you can be rich if you just cut your spending. Now, for the last 17, 18, 19, 20 years, I've been on the air for another company and now my own company. I've told people you can't save your way to retirement. Yet people continue to try and do it. And the reason is, part of the reason is what this article is talking about. They actually tell you that that works. Let me read you this. Now, this guy uses some harsh words, more harsh than even I am. He says, and the financial media feeds this lie by telling you to stop spending $5 a day on coffee so that you can become a millionaire. However, these same pundits conveniently forget to mention that this is only possible if you're earning 12% rate of return. Even if you could get 12% annualized returns, because remember, most people in the marketplace think that 4% is the going rate. Now, we as real estate investors, we're up at 18, as I mentioned with my last 20 houses, up above 20% cash-on-cash rate of return. But for the average person, 3 or 4% is pretty standard. So he's saying you'd have to make 12% compounded over 30 or 40 years for this to work. He goes on to say, even if you could get the 12% annualized returns, you would need to earn those returns while holding a 100% stock portfolio without panicking for decades. Easy in theory, but difficult in practice. This is the same financial media who write stories about people who save money by living in a trailer, making their own dish soap, or reusing their dental floss. Yes, it's that ridiculous. But what really gets me is how these examples are provided as proof of how cutting spending can make you rich. Just think about how condescending this message is to the typical American family. The author of these posts might as well say, see, you dumb B word, the reason you aren't financially free is because you keep buying Tide Pods. But most of us can see the trick they are playing on us. We know that they are using exceptional cases and presenting them as some sort of validation of their lie. It's run-of-the-mill financial pornography. And this is something that I've said, and tons of other people have said it. I'm not the first person to say it. But I have been saying it to you for 20 years. You can't save your way to retirement. You can't scrimp and cut coupons and drive piece of crap cars all your life and not take vacations and not enjoy your life so that you can enjoy your life in retirement. It doesn't even make sense. And this guy hits the nail on the head. So that is posted on my LinkedIn. It's posted on Facebook. If you want to read that article, go check that out. There's more to the article, and it's actually worse. It gets worse. But stop that whole concept that by saving 50 cents on a pound of tomatoes, you're actually doing something. You're not. Driving around an old beat-up car, you think you're saving money. You're not. It's just a horrible way to live, and it's a flat-out lie put out there by financial institutions who don't know what to do. So they just make stuff up. Just like Nick said, it's a doggone lie. So be very careful of that. Do what works. Get out there and build passive income. So I promised you I had a letter. There's a disclaimer here as to who this individual is. I cannot mention his name, but he's been a passive investor with me. He is a member of Real Wealth Academy, so there's the disclaimer. But this is what he emailed me this morning. He said, I just had a wonderfully powerful moment and I wanted to share it. It's one of those moments that only an investor can relate to. Right now, I'm sitting on a cruise ship for the third day of a 7-day cruise. We just left Cozumel, Mexico, where we had an amazing day relaxing on the beach, snorkeling, and having drinks. I finally logged into my email account to see what was happening in the real world, and I saw this. What it was the deposit notification for two duplexes that he owns. After PITI, he nets almost $700. And he has another duplex that generates about $400 a month passive income. The coolest thing is I'm on a ship in the middle of the ocean, and this money is electronically deposited into my account. And my property manager, who I vetted very thoroughly, runs my properties without any input needed on my part. I do not know my tenants' names, and I'm okay with that because the property manager is amazing. We got to go to break, but I'll read the other three short paragraphs when we come back from the break, because he describes what this has done for him psychologically and emotionally, and how it has given him hope. Okay, this is the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. You can call in at 281-558-5738. You're listening to AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas. Thanks for listening. Did you know that 70% of the millionaires in America used real estate as their main investment vehicle? You can and should have some real estate in your portfolio. This is Steve Davis, host of the GetRealWealth.com radio show. Starting with bad credit and no money at age 27, I began investing in real estate. By 30, I was retired. I will be explaining this at a free 2-hour introductory workshop this month. If you would like to attend, go to GetRealWealth.com. That's GetRealWealth.com. Thank you for listening. Welcome back to the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. We're reading a letter from a member who's not completely financially independent yet. He's replaced about, I think, a third of his income. Let's finish reading this letter because it gets pretty touching. I have only replaced a third of my income, but it has already made a world of difference in the quality of lifestyle I lead. My husband is able to work part-time and go back to school while I work full-time at a fun and challenging job that I enjoy. I do not live in fear of being laid off because I have 6 months of income saved up, and I have passive rental income on top of that. I sleep well at night. I am currently 39, and I will easily retire, quote-unquote, by 45 if all my real estate investments go as planned. I'll have roughly half of my life to work on any goal or support any charity I choose while living an amazing life. This is such a blessing that so few people get to enjoy. We only get so many trips around the sun, and I wish that more people could experience this feeling. He says, thank you for doing what you do. He's currently saving up for his first apartment deal as a passive investor. Then he wants to become a lead investor, or as we call it, a syndicator. He'll put together a large apartment complex, and that will be his job. I'm assuming he'll do it actively. But do you see what passive income means? It's the first light of hope for most people, because most people are living paycheck to paycheck. They don't have hope. What they do is they go into a delusional state, and they just block it out. They know they're never going to retire. They know they don't have any savings, but they kind of block it out. And they tell themselves that it's okay, things will change, the second half of life will be different, but they're doing the same things, which means it will not be different. You know, it is very true that you take whatever you have in savings at about 45, double it, that's what you'll have when you retire. There's a lie that financial planners put out there, which is that your expenses in the second half of your life are lower because your kids have graduated college or wherever, and that you're going to suddenly have all this extra money to save, and so you'll save more in the second half of your life. They forget a little thing called medical bills that come up as you get older. Because remember, as negative as this sounds, I don't mean it to be negative. I mean it to be a motivational thing. Getting old sucks. Get rich now, like this gentleman's doing. Get rich now. Start building passive income. Get one little rent house this year that makes you $400 a month. Once you do that, you will be changed mentally for the rest of your life, because you will have done it. Right now, you listen to me, you listen to other people on the radio, or maybe you've joined a club, and you hear people talk about it, you see people doing it, but it's not truly real to you until you do it. So it is very important. That's why we spend more time with our members on their first deal than we do with them on probably their next 5 or 10 deals. Because the first one is the scariest. But once a person gets one, and they're sitting at home, it's the first of the month, and they open their mail, and there's a check for $1,500 in there. The first time they see that, they are changed mentally. They become mentally, financially independent. Sure, they don't have all the passive income yet, but they know how to do it. And they now know that there's hope, that it can be done. They just have to do it over and over and over again till they reach their financial goal. So I encourage every one of you, make this year the year that happens for you. Make this year the year that you get your first passive, realized monthly income off of an income-producing asset. And you know I preach real estate. Let's get one. Get it under your belt. Change who you are. Change your financial destiny. And be able to live with hope instead of living in a state of delusion that, oh no, something will work out between now and 65. They're going to raise Social Security by then. Surely. That's not going to happen. Real hope comes from taking action. So, get out there and get one this year. It is life-changing. Life-changing. Okay, phone lines are open, 281-558-5738, 281-558-5738. That's KSEV. And that can be any question that you have. Don't worry about the subject matter that I'm covering. You may have a question about locating investment property or what is a good investment. Maybe you're working on a deal, just would like some encouragement. Give me a call, 281-558-5738, or you can email me at asksteve@getrealwealth.com. That's asksteve@getrealwealth.com. Let's go take a couple of emails and then we'll get back into the material. This one comes from a Lulu. It says, hello, I'm a new landlord and I'm wondering whether other landlords will make the tenant who passed background and credit check sign a rental agreement and all paperwork on the day they give you the security deposit. I have a potential tenant who will move in next month. He still has 3 more weeks to move in, but his application's been approved now. He needs to make all the deposits within 72 hours. So at the day he makes his deposits to me, should I ask him to sign the rental agreement, or he needs to sign an agreement to execute agreement? If so, when should I ask him to sign the rental agreements? Let's just tear this one apart, Lulu. There's not much here that is done properly. It sounds like you ran a credit check without having the security deposit. In fact, it sounds like you don't even have it yet. So, Lulu, I want you to change your strategy. See, when you go and show a property, before you run a credit check, you collect $35 or $45 in a non-refundable application fee. I collect $35. This pays for the credit check and the criminal check, which is usually about $20, $24. You also collect the application deposit at that time, which is equal to 1 month's rent. This application deposit is non-refundable if you approve them. What you're doing is taking the property off the market for them, and if you do that, they have to understand you're not giving that money back to them if they're approved. Now, if they're not approved, you're going to give it back to them. But if they are approved, that's your money because you took the property off the market. So before you ever bother running a credit or criminal report, collect that $35 non-refundable application fee, then collect the application deposit equal to 1 month's rent. Once they're approved, I give them 72 hours to come and sign the lease. I may not collect the first month's rent until the day they move in, but I'm going to ask for it at this lease signing. So you need to change your whole strategy, Lulu. Everything in that email is incorrect. Change your strategy and do it the way I just described. I will email this process to you as well. Okay, let's go to the phone lines now, which are open at 281-558-5738. We're going to go to Sugar Land now and talk to Joe. Joe, thanks a lot for calling in. How are you today? Hello, Joe.
Hey.
Hey, Joe. How you doing?
Hey, good. Sorry, I was trying to switch my phone over.
Oh, no problem.
So I didn't know if you had any little piece of advice. I'm like a lot of those people that don't have enough to get into it, but I'm going along. I'm barely paying my bills. I got an 800 credit score. I've got 10,000 saved, but it goes away every time I get 10,000. I have a commission once a year that's about to stop coming in next year, and it barely puts me above water. And then my bills and everything I make like 70,000, but wife's at home with 3 kids, so every month we're a little bit under. 10,000 goes away again. So we plan to, borrow money from mom or whatever we got to do to hold on to our 10,000, find the right deal that's $50-something a square foot, and get a hard money loan with only the 10,000 down, whatever. You know, I know if you only have 10,
everything you're saying sounds right, Joe.
Like I've heard, I went to some seminars. I've took the lessons. You know, I understand if you only have 10, you shouldn't try to spend it all in one deal or whatever. But you can either take a chance or you can just keep, going underwater. So I'd rather take the chance and lose than not take the chance. So whatever the case, I'm trying to be conservative. I'm trying to find the right deal, wait till we find the right deal and all that, and get educated, which we are.
Well, Joe, I've got some encouraging words for you. Do you mind holding on for about 4 minutes through a break, because we have to go to break?
Sure.
Hold on, please. Okay, Lynn, I see you on hold as well. Please continue holding. I'll get with you as soon as I'm done with Joe here on the GetRealWealth.com radio show. You can call me at 281-558-5738. You're listening to AM 700 KSEV. 70% of the millionaires in America used real estate as their main investment vehicle. Listen to the GetRealWealth.com radio show to find out how you can do it too. Saturdays at 9 a.m. right here on the Voice of Texas, AM 700 KSEV. Welcome back to the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. We're on the line with Joe in Sugar Land, who's asking some... Well, you didn't really ask a question, but I wanted to say something, Joe, and that is $10,000 should not all be spent on the down payment, because you need a little bit of reserve, $2,000 or $3,000, just in case something surprises you. But if you're doing what you learned, I'm going to assume you're a member of Lifestyles Unlimited. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. If you do what's in that 2-day class, and their education is excellent, you're going to rehab that property right up front, repair everything, and make it perfect so you don't get hit with surprises later on. Then, right, Joe, you take your time and you wait for the perfect tenant. You've got to be very careful on your first few deals. There is no room for error. When you've got 20 houses, 30 houses, you can make a mistake here and there, and the cash flow covers it. Well, in your circumstance, you can't do that. You've got to do it just like Dell says in that 2-day class. Now, the other thing that you could do is raise the $10,000 to $20,000 or $30,000 by wholesaling a few deals, or possibly even flipping a deal. They do not teach that there, but we do. So that's another thing to think about. There's an excellent book out there by Fan Merrill called The Wholesaler's Bible. You might want to pick that book up and read it, because that's the best wholesaling book I've ever seen, Joe.
Fan Merrill. Okay, thanks. Yeah, my cousin's a builder also, and he wants to get into rentals, and so we were thinking we'd team up together and put my $10,000 or his $10,000 or whatever, and try to find a couple, do a flip, and then do another flip to build up our base, and then try to get some rentals that way. But I didn't know if there was any other little trick or tip other than what we just talked about, and trying to get the hard money loan for $10,000 or $12,000 if you can find a deal with that kind of ARV situation, and then just rate and term refinance the next month. I just didn't know if there was any other tip that I could be thinking about.
No, the information you learned in your 2-day class is accurate. It's very, very accurate. That's going to be what you want to do, is use a hard money loan and then move it to conventional. But if you've got a builder on your team, you said it was your brother or brother-in-law?
My cousin's a builder. Now we both agree to we both agree to get some good vendors and let them do their thing. But it's just good that he has the knowledge, It
absolutely is, because he'll know if it's done right or not, and he'll also know the timelines for certain things, that's another way people get burned. They don't know how long stuff takes. Your cousin will. Now, Joe, I got to warn you, partnering with a family member is very, very difficult, very difficult. Make sure that you write down who's responsible for what, and don't have any responsibility that both of you are responsible for. He needs to be in charge of A, B, and C. You need to be in charge of D, E, and F. And get with an attorney, write up an agreement, and then go kill it, Joe.
All right, thanks.
All right, thanks a lot, Joe. You take care. Okay, let's go to Galveston now and talk to Lynn. Lynn, thanks a lot for calling in. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Steve. I have a question for you about rental property at the beach.
Mm-hmm.
You know, rental property at the beach is a kind of a unique animal in that mostly they're short-term rentals, not long-term. Do you feel the same way, though, about short-term rentals as you do about, say, a house in a neighborhood?
I prefer the house in the neighborhood because of the one-year lease. But, okay, Lynn, do not let me discourage you. If you don't mind reletting it every 3 months or whatever the circumstance is, how short-term do you already own some?
Well, yes and no. I own a home here on the beach.
Okay.
And I'm currently living in it, but I'm also currently having a home built, and I'm considering not only this house, but quite possibly the purchase of another house or another 2 houses or condos for short-term rental.
Yeah, I've got no objection to it as long as you make sure you go find somebody who's done that successfully, okay, take them to lunch, take them, you may need to even give them $500. Say, look, spend the day with me. Tell me how this business model works. How do you find the tenants? What's the average number of days they lease? How can I extend that? What about tenant retention? What should I charge? You've got to have somebody that knows what they're doing, Lynn. But I do know for a fact that those do work.
Okay. It's just a thought process because, we do have a home and here at the beach, but we are thinking we might like to keep it and possibly consider rental.
I totally agree with you, because here's what's going to happen. If you do sell it, I swear to you, this is going to happen. 20 years from now, that house will be worth 3 times what you paid for it. And you know what you'll do? We never should have sold that house.
Yes. And
you'll say it.
That's my thought process as well, that, I don't want to live with regret thinking, man, I should have kept that house.
Yeah.
Because, it is a cute little house, and quite honestly, we're building another house close enough where we could kind of oversee it and take care of different things, that happen. Because, living at the beach there's a lot of unique things about living at the beach. And as far as maintenance and things like that.
Yeah, everything wears out faster near that salt water. Sand and Sea Properties down in Galveston, I think I've bought a couple of properties from them, and they are top-notch when it comes to property management like you're talking about. So it might be a good idea to let them run it for a while till you learn what you're doing.
Okay.
So check them out.
And that was kind of another question maybe I was going to dovetail into was, should I have a property manager look after this at least for a while until, we felt comfortable about kind of doing this.
And you may also find that they're doing such a good job, it's completely passive to you that you don't want to take over the management.
Well, and I understand that part of it. I guess my question then would be, do I let somebody manage it and then still do the work ourselves that must be done as far as routine maintenance?
Oh, no. You shouldn't be doing the routine maintenance in a deal.
Okay.
You shouldn't be doing the rehab or the routine maintenance. You hire professionals for that, because then that takes time away from your family. It takes time away from romance. That idea is a very saver's idea, and as we discussed at the top of the hour, saving doesn't work. It really doesn't. Even in this situation, because it's taking your time. You're still spending something. It's your time. So,
Gotcha.
No, you get a team to do all that for you, Lynn.
Okay, well, it's a lot of food for thought, and like you said, I think I would live with some regret if I let this house go once we're moving into the new place. and it's so enjoyable here. And
it is. I have a house there at Lafitte's Cove. I love it.
Nice. We really enjoy it. We are fortunate enough. We live here part-time, and then we live in Wyoming during the summers. And
wow. That's beautiful.
But we've never leased this house out or rented this house out before, and that kind of comes with a
why don't you give it a sample try this summer when you leave? Do a three-month trial.
Yeah, I think we may do that. I really appreciate all the time you spent with me today, Steve.
No problem, then. Thank you so much for the phone call. You take care.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. Okay, phone lines are open, 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738, or you can email me at asksteve@getrealwealth.com. asksteve@getrealwealth.com. And remember that email's open to you 24/7, not just during the show. All right, here's another listener question that I want to address. This one is, I'm a new landlord. Oh, this is similar to the other one. Yeah, this is another almost identical question from a I can't even pronounce the name. This comes down to knowing the best practices. There are other ways to do this than what I just described when you're leasing a property. But there is no question that there is one practice that is the best, and that is to collect the application fee and the application deposit equal to 1 month's rent before you ever bother running a credit and criminal report. Why would you run a credit and criminal report if they didn't even give you the first month's rent, the application deposit equal to 1 month's rent? You're wasting your time. These people you don't even have control of them yet. That doesn't even make sense. So what you want to do when you go show the house and you ask and close the sale and you say, do you want to put a deposit down on this so I can take it off the market for you? And they say yes, you got to get that equal to 1 month's rent application deposit. All right, this is the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. You can call me at 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV. You're listening to AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas. Thanks for listening. Did you know that 95% of Americans fail to retire by age 65 and 36% are dead? The good news is that here at the GetRealWealth.com radio show, we know what the other 5% are doing. 70% of them own real estate. We are a mentoring group for new and experienced real estate investors. We will show you how to build a second stream of income that will allow you to retire at any age. I will be explaining this at a free 2-hour introductory workshop this month. If you would like to attend, please go to GetRealWealth.com. That's GetRealWealth.com. I'm your host, Steve Davis. We have a couple callers on hold. Philip and Zach, I'll be with you in just 1 second. I did have an email here, and this is another email about the free introductory workshop. I cannot reserve a seat by emailing me. If you want to come, our little advertisements during the breaks talk about a free introductory workshop. It's a 2-hour workshop. It's this Thursday evening from 6:30 to 8:30, and those are real times. We're done and out of there before 8:30. If you'd like to come to that, to see how the mentoring works at Real Wealth Academy, go to GetRealWealth.com. In the upper right-hand corner, you'll see a button for free workshop, and it will have the dates, the times, and the location there. Again, please don't email me. I cannot reserve you a seat. You need to do that at GetRealWealth.com. Okay, let's go to Philip in Pearland. Philip, thanks a lot for calling in. You got a problem with a broken rental lease?
Well, it's not. Well, first, it's so nice to have you back, Steve, in the radio.
Thank you, Philip. Thank you.
Yeah, but well, the tenants have been good tenants, but they had to now move before the lease is finish. So basically, they're like I said, they are returning the house by the lease. So they're breaking the lease. That's the way that I see that. Now, this Friday, I'm gonna do the walkthrough with them and get it back. So at that point is to beside the walkthrough sheet that we have, and we're gonna do the walk. Do I have to have another letter saying that, hey, because you're breaking now your deposit, we're not going to return the deposit, or how?
Philip, the way that I handle breaking a lease in a circumstance like that is I always first off, I let people break leases. Now, this sounds weird, but I let them. I choose my battles very wisely. And part of the reason I do that is because I know I can always release it. And I don't want to harm a family. I mean, I can release it. But what I do say to them is, look, you've got to pay your rent through the month that you move out. I don't care if you move out on the 15th, you got to pay through the 30th. You move out on the 20th, you got to pay through the 30th. I collect the last month's rent, but I tell them this. If you leave the house perfect, I will even refund your security deposit. But the house has to be perfect when you move out. Do you know, Philip, that I've had people paint their house just to get their security deposit back? It's a very effective strategy. It's about being kind, but firm. In other words, look, I'll let you out of the lease, but you got to pay the whole last month's rent, no matter when you move out. So there's kindness and firmness in the offer. And then I say, look, get everything out of the house, leave it clean, leave it ready to move in, and I'll even give you your security deposit back. Now, have I ever had a situation where I gave the whole security deposit back? Generally, no. There's usually one or two little things, needs carpet cleaning or something like that. But I subtract that and give them their deposit back and move on down the road and get that thing released.
Okay. But it's not that I need to have a document or something like that. This is pretty much verbal, between you and your tenant.
Yeah, if you want to. If you don't, it sounds like they're a good tenant. You've known them for a while. I can't imagine anything more than just writing down what you held out of the security deposit, why you held it out, getting them to sign it. That'd be the only thing you could do, Philip, that I can think of.
Okay. No, that's fine. I don't expect anything. Even the previous renewal that we did, I did still a walkthrough. I do pretty much that every time that I go, at least once a year when I'm gonna renew. I do a walkthrough just to kind of like have an opportunity to see how they're maintaining the house and things like that. So overall has been good tenants.
That's a good idea. And then when in the middle of the year, this is just the strategy that I use. I send my AC guy in to check the AC and walk the property. And he gives me a report. So I actually see it technically twice a year. Yeah, so you're doing it. That's good, Philip. Well done.
Yeah, I do that too. Okay.
Thanks for the phone call.
Steve.
Take care. Bye-bye. Okay, let's go to the Heights now and talk to Zach on line 2. Zach, thanks a lot for calling in. How are you today?
Hey, Zach, Steve, how are you doing?
Excellent, thanks.
So I had a quick question for you. I'm an off and on listener, but have listened for many years. And I know my question is a little bit generic, but I did want to run it by you. Been listening for a long time. I myself and my wife have done more of the corporate rat race, so to speak, what you say not to do. However, we've been relatively successful at that. And I think today we're in our upper 30s. We're both about 37, and I think we could liquidate out all of our resources, including taxes, penalties, and all that jazz, for about $1.3 million.
Good Lord, Zach. Man, that's awesome.
Now,
congratulations.
Thank you. Now, my question is, and this is where it gets generic, and I don't expect a super specific answer, but I'm open to however you want to answer it. Not all situations are created equal, right? Oh, we also both have 800 credit scores. Okay. What type of, let's say we made a decision later this year that we wanted to liquidate those things out and come with those types of credit scores, even keep our jobs for the meantime. and that type of money up front, what's a reasonable 3 to 5 year plan? You know, in acquiring how many properties? Would I be able to get into multifamily right away, or would it? I don't know. Just how would you see that situation?
What you've got is you're dangerous because you've got so many options, Zach. You could do an IRO, buy your own deal, and manage it, but you'd have to quit your job to do that probably. You could partner and do passive investing with it and maybe get in 10 or 13 different deals, double your money over the next 2 years, 3 years, 50% to 100% return in the next couple of years. So it's really, there's a lot of options. You could even, I wouldn't touch single family, I'll tell you that right now.
Really?
And
okay.
I wouldn't flip, I wouldn't wholesale. That's no need for that.
What's your, and just out of curiosity, your reasoning for that is just a little bit on the lower, like not lower end, but just a little more hassle for, with, that's where to start with when you're getting started sort of thing with lower money?
Exactly. And it's kind of like I was buying houses, one at a time, and then one day I bought 10 units at once.
Okay.
It opened my eyes. I did the same amount of work to buy one house as I did to buy that 10 unit, and I made a lot more money, obviously, with the 10 unit. So apartments are the way to go. That's where I'd be looking, either to do one all by yourself, which you could buy a pretty nice apartment with $1 million down, and you could, or do passive into some lead investors or some syndicators deals.
Right. But on average, again, this is I know this is a generic question. No deals equal exactly the same, but with a 7-figure down on what type of income could you expect from something like that, roughly?
I would say, you're talking about
cash
on cash rate of return.
Yeah.
This is tough because right now the deals that I like are all value plays. And these value plays have a low cash on cash the first couple of years, 6%, 10%, something like that. But at the end of the second year, you refinance it and you pull out half or all of your money, and now you're making an infinite rate of return because you have no money in the deal.
Right. Yeah.
So it's hard to say, but you could generate $100,000 a year, $200,000 a year without, especially if you were willing to IRO your own deal, independent rental owner.
Okay.
Yeah, you'd have a lot of potentials there.
Criteria that comes with that, obviously. You got to know what you're doing more than, right? I mean, obviously, you can join
and
a group.
It's going to consume some of your time.
Right. Well, I'm just amazed that, I don't know, this is starting on a tangent, but I'm amazed that when you look at what you make on your job, what you think you need to make from your job, something about being self-employed, I don't think I'd need as much in a weird way. I don't know. Like when I'm working for myself and you just, there's something different about money coming from a passive perspective than slaving away for it. You know what I mean?
Yes, it's totally different. And the peace of mind that you get, the happiness that you get with it, it's totally different.
Right.
But the other thing is, it sounds like some of these are in retirement. Some of this money's in retirement accounts because you talked about cashing them out.
Right.
I'm not as 100% cash them out as other people are.
Okay.
Because there are ways to self-direct an IRA. There's even ways to self-direct your 401k while you're still at the employment. It's pretty amazing what's going on with the laws that changed about 3 years ago. We'll talk about that on another show. All right, Zach, thanks a lot for calling in. Thanks, everybody, for listening to the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. Please email me any questions at AskSteve@GetRealWealth.com.
This has been the GetRealWealth.com radio show. Please remember that this show is for entertainment purposes only and should not be construed as legal, tax, or investing advice. Always get a professional opinion before making any investment decision. To find out about the mentoring and consulting at Real Wealth Academy, visit GetRealWealth.com and attend one of our free introductory workshops on real estate investing. That's GetRealWealth.com. Thanks for listening and have a great rest of your day.